Hi there and welcome to my review of The Post. The Post is a new Steven Spielberg movie and follows the true life story of the Pentagon Papers and their publishing in the 1970s. So the New York Times published the Pentagon Papers, but then the Nixon government subsequently banned them from doing so, and the Washington Post then made the historic decision to ignore the government and publish more papers. And it's about that decision-making process and how that came to be. This is obviously a prestige picture. Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep and Steven Spielberg. I mean, this is the clearest piece of Oscar bait this year, maybe. Well, actually, no, Darkest Hour exists, and that is ridiculously Oscar baity. But The Post still really works. So The Post is not in any way really tarnished by being an Oscar bait movie, just because it's a drama, because it's about real life stories, created by Spielberg, because it stars Meryl Streep. Obviously, Oscars are in contention straight away, but that doesn't tarnish it. It is still a very fine work. Spielberg is undoubtedly a master craftsman. That's what I think. I think Spielberg will always execute his movies well. Regardless of how good I think they are, the craft is always impeccable. Spielberg knows how to frame and stage movies like no one else. In fact, I think if we're looking at The Post, in terms of crafting a scene, Spielberg knows what he's doing. Every single scene, which often involves a lot of people in one room talking, is so impeccably staged and refined, and Spielberg knows how to just get everyone to feel right in the scene, and it just works perfectly. Spielberg nails every single aspect that he's trying to nail in The Post. I think all his direction is superb. Beyond that, I feel like with Spielberg I often fall into two camps, which is I'm not a huge fan of him particularly. Not because I think he's a bad director, but because his films just really aren't my thing. I find his work often very hokey and over sentimental, and I find that I'd much prefer his blockbusters to his serious dramas, because when he's making a blockbuster I don't mind that necessarily being a bit schmaltzy and a bit over sentimental. You know, there's nothing wrong with Indiana Jones and E.T. being a bit exaggerated in their emotional reaches, but when you're making dramas I do find that a little problematic. All my favourite Spielberg movies are his big blockbusters, they're not his dramas. But I think The Post might instinctively be among my favourite Spielberg dramas, if not my favourite, for a few reasons. First of all, I think Spielberg has avoided the sentimentality that really makes his other films not my cup of tea. I think he's working for a really strong script by Liz Hanna and Joss Singer. The script is really non-sentimental. The script is really facts and really just based in reality, and it's not at all hokey, but it's not simplistic emotionally. In fact, it's very complex. I think this is a film which has a lot more to say. It's very restrained, very refined. The other thing is, I think that usually when Spielberg makes a big drama, he's often making these big dramas which are just kind of these big prestige pictures, whereas I feel like in The Post there's kind of a relevancy to it, because obviously The Post tries to draw parallels with Nixon and Trump, and I understand that that's kind of a thing, and I kind of appreciate that kind of attempt to be relevant. I kind of appreciate the fact that there's trying to make it a little bit more meaty than it had to be. You know, it's a very timely picture at the very least. So there's a lot of things going on in The Post which are subtler, which are cleverer. There's none of the usual over-exaggerated emotional scenes that you tend to get from Spielberg. This is Spielberg at a very adult level, not pandering in any way. This is Spielberg just making a movie which is good. It certainly is a little bit heavy-handed at some points. It certainly could do with probably a bit more of an assumption that the audience can follow, some more complex plotting. There's certainly a lot of simplification, and there's certainly downplaying of certain roles, but nonetheless The Post is still, generally speaking, pretty good. Like, the score by John Williams is obviously great. The Post has a really great script, as I said, but the other thing is the film's really sort of fast-paced. I think the editing's really great here as well. I was surprised at how quick it went. I didn't realise the film was over when it was over. I thought, oh, there's still a lot to go, and there wasn't. It had finished. So it's certainly a movie that just went by. It's certainly very enjoyable. I certainly think that this is Spielberg is most relevant. It is a little flawed. It certainly takes a while to get going. It doesn't really contextualise a lot of the stuff. You know, as much as I appreciate how it's a little bit more complex than usual for Spielberg, I think I would appreciate a little bit more complexity. It's certainly a very, very strong film. It's certainly one of Spielberg's best in a long time. I certainly think it's up there, and I certainly think his craft is excellent. I certainly think this is top tier Spielberg. I think this is very well made. I really, really appreciate what The Post was going for. I love the relevancy, I love the insight, I love the historical sort of style. I think it's a very interesting work about principles that need to be upheld in society. So yes, I really, really like The Post, but I don't love it, so I think it's a case of it's a really good film. Have you seen The Post? If so, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear your opinions. Leave me a like if you like this review, and subscribe if you want to hear more review stuff all the time. If you want to follow me and keep up with what films I'm watching, you can follow me on Letterboxd or Twitter, links in the description. And The Post, it's a good film.